Welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be chit-chatting a little bit about haunted animatronics or just creepy animatronics in general. So I recently started playing Five Nights at Freddy's, and I think I'm going to play it here on my channel for Halloween as well because I'm really new to it and I think it's a really fun game. I want to share my experience with you guys. And I've also watched this movie, Willys Wonderland. It was released this year. It stars Nicolas Cage and it also revolves around creepy animatronics. And I've also heard a lot of creepy stories about animatronics, so I just felt I really wanted to talk about it on my channel. Like, what's up with these creepy animatronics? Like, why are animatronics even a thing? Who was like, you know what would be a really good idea for kids if we like make these massive, really intimidating, moving robotic objects? That's just really creepy. So yeah, so for those of you who are not familiar with Five Nights at Freddy's, it's basically you are like the night guard and you're supposed to watch over this pizzeria. It's really odd that a pizza place needs night guard in the first place, but animatronics are expensive, so I guess that's why. So now they tell you that the animatronics kind of like are on free roam mode at night. But the general gist of the game is they think that you are part of the show, and if they find you, they're gonna stuff you inside a costume as well because they think you're out of costume, but they stuff you inside of an animatronic. And there's no room for a human, so basically they kill you in the process. So that's what makes the game so eerie. So I'm not really gonna get too much into the later games because I haven't played them yet, but later they get into like where the animatronics was like broken down, parts were put into new animatronics, and they also added new animatronics and everything, but it was really well done. But you know, the whole theory about the animatronics is maybe there's faulty wiring, maybe they're possessed. You know, we don't really know for certain what makes these animatronics act out. In Willys Wonderland, however, spoiler alert, so if you haven't watched the film, maybe just go watch it and come back to the video. But in Willys Wonderland, the animatronics were possessed by a satanic cult, very similar to Annabelle vibes that I get from them. They basically did a soul transfer where they transferred their souls into the animatronics. Really go watch this film, it's really interesting. So they transferred their souls into the animatronics, and then animatronics acted out and they murdered people, which was really, really creepy. There's like 8 animatronics in the film and it's just like insane. Definitely go watch it, you know, just get a little bit more of a vibe. So if you're interested in haunted animatronics, I really recommend this film. So basically it's called Willys Wonderland. It's a restaurant, it serves hot dogs and it entertains kids' birthday and etc. It was basically the owner was a murderer and he basically made the place to kill families and kids. So they had this place they called the Happy Fun Room where they would throw private birthday parties for the kids, and then the main animatronic, which was a weasel, ended up killing the kids, or basically the guy dressed up as that animatronic and then murdered the kid. So eventually kids started getting missing. There was complaint of really awful smells coming from Willys Wonderland. So police decided it was time to investigate. So they investigated, and basically when they got there, all of the people in the restaurant, which all of the other workers were also part of like this cult, they were also very sadistic, murderous people. So they basically performed the satanic ritual where they killed themselves, and it was believed they transferred their souls into the animatronics. So later things just went on, the place closed down, it went under new management, and then they had a little problem with the animatronics acting out. So eventually they closed the place down. they actually hired a construction worker to basically demolish the building, but when they hired him at home, he was killed in his bed along with his entire family. And there was also attacks at a school, hardware shops, basically the entire town. There was just this whole string of murders. So the head of the police, the owner of the restaurant, and the mechanic decided to make a deal with the main animatronic, which is Willy, to basically they will feed him as long as he leaves the town alone. This basically reminds me in the episode of Supernatural with the scarecrow. So basically they just took people that wandered through town unsuspectingly, said there's free lodging, or if their car broke down they have to like pay it off, like work it off and things, because there's no ATMs and things like that in the town. And then they will end up getting murdered. So it was a really interesting story in general, really creepy. So that's just a little bit about Five Nights at Freddy's and Willys Wonderland. But there's so much more to haunted animatronics and creepy animatronics. Let me tell you. So I want to talk quickly about Disney. Disney and Disney theme parks have a lot of animatronics and people in like mascot suits. But there was this one incident that it's actually a little funny, but I mean, have you ever seen the inside of an animatronic? It's horrifying. So there was this one incident where Ursula from The Little Mermaid, her animatronic, the kids were just on the ride enjoying the show, and in the middle of her song, of her performance, her head detached and basically fell off, and the kids on the ride was traumatized, and the Disney park actually ended up like facing like things like lawsuits and things because of that, the kids' trauma. The kids probably had to go to therapy. So that is like a couple of things like I heard. I don't know if all of it's true, but I mean, I really know that Ursula's head did detach. So that was just really creepy. I just wanted to add this in here. So animatronics over the years have caused multiple injuries because people get their hair and their fingers stuck in parts. I mean, there's a lot of parts that moves and joints and things. So it's very easily to get injured while working or fixing an animatronic if you don't turn it off properly or something like that. So animatronics in general, I just think that was really not the best invention. Today's animatronics, I guess, are a little bit more modern, but like with the Ursula, they still malfunction sometimes and then kids end up traumatized. I still really don't see how this was a good idea for kids to begin with. So next up here, I want to talk a little bit about the Walton Files. So in the Walton Files is basically this VHS series about Bond's Burgers. Now it's also funny, like animatronics is also in like kids' fast food joints. Like fast food's also probably not the best idea for your kid. But yeah, it was like this burger joint. And there was also these animatronics that was like haunted, and there was like people stuffed into animatronics. So I will just read you a little bit about what the Walton Files is about, but you can also do your own research if you want to find out more about the Walton Files, or if you wanted me to deep dive a little bit more into any of these haunted animatronic stories, just put that down in the comments and I will do so. Okay. So like I mentioned, the Walton Files is an ongoing analog horror series with codes within codes, hidden puzzle pieces, and one mother of a secret at the center. It is inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's. This Walton Files Explained series will seek to compile the clues, hidden messages, and best theories out there. So it's basically this interactive game where you just have to solve these puzzles and things to find out more about the story. You get clues and then the story progresses with the VHS series. So a little background about the Walton Files. The Walton Files is a horror series of VHS animated tapes. It's inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's, like I mentioned, and the whole plot of it is Jack Walton and Felix Kranken came up with an idea that hadn't been foreseen before. To create a restaurant aimed at kids with robotic entertainment. This idea had stuck with the two until it came into fruition in the summer of 1974 with the name Bond's Burgers, and would be under the management of Bunny Smiles Incorporation, BIS for short. On May 2nd, 1974, 1 month before the opening of the restaurant, Felix took Jack's 2 younger children, Ed and Molly, to a school party. The school had hosted an alcoholic beverage area. Not a good idea at all. Disasters waiting to happen. Okay, so they hosted this beverage area for the adults in which Felix gladly drank. And Felix gladly drank as he was dealing with problems of alcoholism and his wife leaving him earlier that day. He eventually started to drive the Walton kids back home, so he was driving drunk. However, due to how intoxicated Felix was, he began to speed. Out of irrational fear and guilt, he buried the 2 children in St. Jonas Forest, so he didn't even tell their parents or anything. Shortly afterwards, Jack Walton was declared missing on June 11th, 1974. The restaurant would open June 28th, 1974, 17 days after Jack's disappearance. 2 days afterwards, the restaurant would host its first birthday party. The night, Susan Whittings would make an audio recording logging the day and the irregularities she noticed in Bon. So Bon is one of the animatronics, the leader of the Showstoppers, an animatronic band used to operate by cyberpunk tech to entertain customers. She goes on to state that she'd hopefully fix Bon and close for the night sometimes afterward. Bon would mutilate Whittings and stuff her into Banny. Charles, a known BSI employee, was murdered on July 14th, 1974 and stuffed into Boozoo. So these people were all killed and stuffed into the animatronics. Rosemary Walton would often visit the establishment in hope to find her missing husband, though her attempts seemed to be futile. On July 19th, 1974, however, when she visited the restaurant yet again to gain some information about her loved one, a voice emanated from behind the main stage of the Showstoppers. When Rosemary went backstage, Bon was awaiting her, and then proceeded to dismember Rosemary and stuffed her into Shaw. It is assumed that Sophie Walton, the Waltons' eldest daughter, most likely witnessed the event. Sometime later that day, police reports were given from the Bon's Burgers location of a woman screaming from the back rooms of the restaurant. This promoted the employees to remove the animatronics from the main stage. The last day they were open, July 20th, 1974, only 2 families were given access to visit the restaurant, and the location later closed for good. The restaurant was boarded up later on, based on a photo taken on October 31st, 1974. Between this period of time, Felix Kranken created the St. Jonas storage facility, a vault intended to store any items from the Bon's Burgers location. The vault was built and completed around November, early December 1974, based on a photograph taken on December 10th, 1974. Another photo was taken on January 23rd, 1975, showed that the animatronics from the restaurant had been moved into the facility. After this, the only known source of revenue for the BSI franchise was received through multiple business offers such as merchandise, a TV show, and a movie. By 1978, Kranken wanted the animatronics in a new location, so he created a plan titled the Relocate Project, in which the main goal was to fix the animatronics and reopen the business, hoping it would actually be successful. Between July 12 to 14, 1978, 3 BSI employees, Kevin W., Hillary B., and Ashley Parks, were sent to the storage facility in order to reprogram the animatronics. This proved unsuccessful due to the immense amount of damage on the robots. Ashley had remarked that they received a key with no actual proper use and was curious to see if it had any use at all. It did indeed. When it unlocked the back door, which revealed many rooms full of animatronic parts and other items. She then found an unused animatronic named Billy, which had a cassette tape for the birthday parties. However, the tape corrupted itself, and Ashley was then murdered by Bon and stuffed into the Billy animatronic. Kevin and Hillary assumed Ashley had left early and went on leaving the facility. The caretakers of the storage facility noticed awful smells emanating from the back rooms, which prompted the caretakers to close the facility in 1978 or 1979. In October 1982, Brian Stells is hired by the BIS to act as the new facility caretaker, a role that no one had for years. And on October 10th, 1982, Brian was ordered to record what he did that night on reprogramming the animatronics. He finds Bon and attempts to use his reprogramming device to check if it was still working. Things seemed to be going well until Bon started acting a bit strange, eventually chasing Brian out of the facility and killing him. 5 days later, Sophie Walton, the eldest child of the Walton family, and her girlfriend Jenny Letterson find an article-style game made by BIS titled Bunny Farm. The game centered around doing tasks in order to receive foods from the farm owner in order to save a festival. The game glitches out and shows disturbing and unusual imagery, which causes Sophie to quit the game. The next day, Sophie plays the game again, where the mysterious and creepy glitches continue plaguing this game, but now they begin to piece a story for Sophie, who has a severe memory loss from pills that have been given to her. A story about how a few individuals lost their lives at Bon's Burgers 8 years prior, and the story of what happened to Ed and Molly when they were under Felix's care that night. So that is the entire story of Bon's Burgers and what it's about. Loie Lane actually made an incredible series on this. I'll link her series down below because I really liked how she dived deep into this whole Bon's Burgers thing. But if you guys want me also to do a deep dive into Bon's Burgers or Five Nights at Freddy's or Disney creepy animatronics or Willys Wonderland, you can just put that in the comments down below and I will gladly oblige. So lastly for this video, I want to tell you guys a scary story. A nice little creepypasta story to just end this video off properly. So the creepypasta story is about Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese is another franchise that was really creepy with the animatronics and things. I can also deep dive into this if you guys would like me to, but I don't want to go too in detail about everything related to Chuck E. Cheese. But allegedly there was a couple of kids that disappeared and there was a couple of murders associated with Chuck E. Cheese allegedly, but these are all just rumors and was never confirmed. Okay, so the creepypasta goes as follows. Hello, my name is Scott. I was an intern at a popular kids pizza place called Chuck E. Cheese. For 7.5 years, I absolutely love working there as an animatronic moderator. Well, that's until I found a very, very dark secret backstage. And this is the story of how I ended up finding it. After a long, hard shift, I went backstage through the dark room. Chuck E. Cheese was back sitting with his costume on. I found this incredibly strange because backstage you aren't required to wear the uniform. I figured that inside the costume, the normal operator, my boss Randy, I said hi to Randy, then went to get a water from the vending machine. Randy said nothing in response, just turned his head to watch me get my drink. I found this to be a little creepy considering Randy is a very friendly and social guy, and overall great boss. I sat down at the table and ate my dinner I had gotten from the employees' only fridge. After multiple attempts to make small talk with Randy, I gave up and started scrolling on social media. After closing time, it was around 7:30, I heard a little child scream, "Help me!" This made me very frightened because a little child was screaming for help after we had been closed. I got up to run to the door when Chucky got up and blocked the exit. I pushed past him and burst through the door, and right when I did, Chucky said, "Oh, you'll regret that." Not caring, I ran past a little girl, about 4, crying by the skee-ball game. I asked for her parents' phone number and called them right away. After 10 minutes of giving the girl first aid and some calming words, her parents arrived and were so happy to see her that they burst into tears. The parents said that they had almost filed a missing persons case because their daughter was missing for 3 days. They left me, having seen my fair share, decided to leave too. Chucky and his pals blocked the exit, keeping me from leaving. Chucky frowned while saying, Why would you let the victim escape? I blinked and suddenly the store was deserted. The games were dusty, tables was empty, and the food moldy. The lights were flickering and the animatronics in the back were singing but sounded off the battery. Since we lost the girl, you can take her place, Chucky said. Screaming from the play area, looking at time, it was 3:01 a.m. Wasn't it just 7:45? Complete silence was held as the mascot slowly inched towards me, one step at a time. I ducked under Chucky, burst through the door, and jump-started my car. I quit the next morning. Sometimes I can still hear the little girl yelling for help. And this is how the story ends, and then they just put a disclaimer here that the story is not real, it's just a creepypasta ghost story. But I really thought this story was really creepy and really interesting. So if you guys like this video about creepy animatronics, give this video a big thumbs up. Put down in the comments down below if you guys want me to deep dive into any of these topics. And make sure to go check out all of the links that I added. I will see you guys in the next video. Bless guys. Bye!